So what we're talking about today is a phenomenon called Tulpamancy. Now, tulpas tulpas are uh, pretty represented in pop culture, more so than a lot of Eastern mysticism and things like that. And it's from a what's called Theosophy. It's a religion that was established in the United States, so it's not actually a uh, organic to the Tibetan origins. They've kind of taken the word and added it to this to what this phenomena is. Let me read what they have here in the Wikipedia. Just kind of a basic rundown to give us an idea. It says tulpa is a concept in theosophy, mysticism, and the paranormal of an object or being that is created through spiritual or mental power. Modern practitioners who call themselves tulpamancers use the term to refer to a type of willed imaginary friend, which practitioners consider to be sentient and relatively independent. All right. So there's two schools of thought on the tulpa. First, we'll explain what a tulpa is. I need to clear my throat. I got a little frog in my throat, so I'm going to just mute real quick, and I'll be right back. Hopefully, I was expressive enough that you understood all of that. I would think so. Why wouldn't you understand that? That's Bumblebee's dance language, because I use the bee language, and that's how I communicate. Okay, so a tulpa is like a thought form, I guess, is the best jumping off point to explore this idea. It's a thought form. It's something you create and focus on creating in your mind. Usually, people are making an entity that's traditionally like human and willing it to be present and existent. And then, oh my gosh, I can't believe I forgot to grab my book. That's all right. Anyway, so a willed entity that exists and shares the recesses of your mind with you. Now, why would somebody do that? There's a lot of claims about what having a tulpa will benefit you. Will benefit you in what ways it'll aid you in your lives. There's claims that it's going to have access to regions of your subconscious that you can't remember, things like that. It'll help you remember stuff you've forgotten. It'll help you by giving you almost a second set of neuron responses in your brain when you're assessing information. So it's like having a second brain looking at it. Maybe you're looking at what you're reading, what's written, but the tulpa is assessing the handwriting and trying to figure out who wrote it, things like that. So it's an idea basically like splitting your brain between two entities. But the there's the spiritual side, and then there's the neuroscience side. The neuroscience side gets really, really interesting, but we're going to look at the spiritual side first, because that's up until fairly recently. That was what a tulpa was. This idea of it just specifically being a neurological response hasn't entered the popular domain and hasn't entered popularity in media, so to speak. It's always been there and it's been studied, but as far as media was concerned, a tulpa in popular culture, a tulpa was always a spiritual creature, basically a thought form that you gave essence to, that you created this entity. And there are obviously claims that a tulpa will develop its own personality and characteristics and its own ambitions and its own drives, becoming independent from its master, I guess, or creator. Now, when we think of that, we have to keep in mind that it's still just something that's existing inside the mind of the person who created it. Any interaction that it has with the physical world should be expected to be only through the physical body of the creator. But people will claim things like poltergeist activity in association with their tulpas as well, similar to ghostly phenomena that would indicate that, at least within the lore, that it's an actual spiritual creature that is able to engage with and interact with the physical world at some point after its creation and into the development of its independence. People claim these things. This is not the mainstream. This is not the mainstream of Tulpamancy as it's practiced today. Most, if not all, the Tulpamancers that I have watched or engaged with have a completely different concept of what a tulpa is. What I'm giving you now is kind of the pop culture tulpa, or the traditional tulpa, if you will, because you got to remember this comes from Eastern mysticism. And as such, it is going to have some mystical properties. It's going to be associated with things like auras and astral projection and those other kinds of Eastern metaphysical mysticism ideas. Astral projection is what this really kind of ties into, because astral projection is another, basically, like where you create in your mind, and that's a place you create, a place of escape when you do the astral projection, or a place of reflection, or whatever your goal is when you do that meditation and enter into that state. Now, people have always claimed as well that the astral projection and the astral planes are a real thing as well, a physical place where you can visit and people can interact with. Obviously, that's never been shown to be real, and is probably a topic for another day. We could do a whole stream on astral projections or the Akashic records. Let me know if you'd like to see me dig into those. If you don't know what the Akashic records are, similar to these other concepts, except for the Akashic records is basically a library that on the astral plane that contains all the knowledge of the world, like, that you could ever want. Allegedly, I was into New Age stuff for most of my late teens, and I struggled to find that Akashic record, because I'm a nerd and I like books and I like knowledge, and I wanted to find all the knowledge. I wanted all the knowledge. I was not able to locate this fabled library. But I digress. I'm getting off topic because we need to be talking about tulpas. Are there tulpas in the Akashic records, or what I'm calling the Akashic library? Are there tulpas floating around in there? Are there tulpas on the astral plane? I don't know, but they're strongly linked with the same occult practices of the Far East. But it's Tibetan monks and such that are most famous for practicing tulpamancy. Or are they? Because no. For a long time, Tibetan monks were, for decades and decades, that was the go-to image of a tulpamancer. Tibetan monk making his own Tibetan monk double to help him become more enlightened or whatever. That was the idea of a tulpa. But in I don't know, when was the year for this? Okay. I had some more information pulled up on this, and I'm going to be frank with you guys. I accidentally closed a whole bunch of tabs when I was rearranging things for the fundraiser, so I'm sorry about that. But give me a second here. Okay, it was 20. Come on. Anyway, it's been sometime within the last 8 years. I'm not sure exactly what the time frame is when this phenomena started, but let's delve into it. I'm just going to pull it right up. Tulpas became a thing among among the brony community, among the My Little Pony fans, the adult male My Little Pony fans. They became infatuated with the concept of creating tulpas of their favorite ponies. So, as of now, the most prominent people practicing tulpamancy are creating pony tulpas based on characters from Friendship is Magic, or another popular group is the Pokemon fans who are creating their own Pokemon tulpas. So that light is killing me. Hopefully it goes away. Go away, go away. So they are, I just need to hang something in front of there, I guess. So they are creating tulpas that aren't like independent thought forms, or couldn't even. Petal, you get up on the screen. Here's Petal. She's here. She's hanging out over here. They are creating tulpas that don't have a free personality that they generate and develop over time. They're creating tulpas that have a preset characteristics. So I don't know if that even would qualify as the same process to generate these alleged entities, because you're basically at that point it's just you have an imaginary friend that's a character from the TV show, right? It's not something independent and developing on its own with its own will and drivers and force. That's one of the key characteristics of a tulpa, is that it wants to be independent and do its own thing, and that's what you need to let it do in order to access the subconscious. It's kind of let it do its own thing, because it is an extension. If you allegedly, when you create it and you start off, it starts off with like a basic mold in your brain, right? That you have an idea of what this entity is going to be like. But once you get to a certain point in its development, you're supposed to let it go do its own thing, because it has to develop its own way in order to be able to attain tulpaship, I guess, to where it can actually interact with you as an independent entity and assist you by accessing parts of your brain. Whether there's any truth to this or not, there's been some psychological studies on it, and obviously we're going to talk about that too. But let me, first and foremost, this is not, oh gosh, why am I not sharing again? Sorry, let's see. There we go. So there's a subreddit for tulpamancy. People talking about all kinds of stuff. Presence after quitting. That's the tulpa won't go away. Just decided to call it quits, and then the tulpa wouldn't go away. People imagine their first tulpas and significant others. I don't know. I would not. I don't know. Would you, if you had a tulpa, would you tell your spouse that, hey, yeah, I have an imaginary friend? I don't know. Maybe. I would. You think if you're creating this thought form, though, this entity, it's a thought form, and you're driving the ship, that you could set boundaries for it. You think you could set boundaries within the framework of its creation to say, hey, oh, you only come hang out with me when I'm sitting on the toilet, something like that, right? Just to keep things under control so it doesn't interfere with your normal life. But let's see. If you have a monogamous love in your background through religion, culture, or that's just what feels right to you, does having a significant other and a tulpa who is close to you in most of the same ways feel a bit like cheating? How do you harmonize both relationships? Okay, well, your tulpa is you, or part of you, part of your brain, so you should do your best to love it. But it's easy to, I guess, I shouldn't say it's easy. I don't have any idea. I've never made a tulpa. It'd be, for me, I feel like it'd be easy to distinguish between an independent physical person who's separate from me and how I feel about them from a fabricated person who is a part of me. I have a significant other, my husband. I met my husband when I was 18, but my tulpa has been with me since I was about 9. I have told my husband multiple times about my tulpa, but he doesn't believe in that kind of stuff. So he isn't really aware of how deep of a connection I share with another being, and the fact that only I have these other being experiences feels transgressive. But I wish it didn't. It doesn't sound like your husband feels like it. As to me, if I was married to a woman and she had a significant other, or not significant other, if I was her significant other and we were, monogamous together, I would not consider time spent with your tulpa, with your fabricated entity, as a transgression against me. I wouldn't. I couldn't even think. It'd be like, you're spending too much time inside your own head. No, that's not how a relationship works. You have autonomy. Your tulpa, as a extension of your own mind, is a part of you and part of your own personal autonomy. No one should be telling you what you can and should do with your own body. You do what feels right. So yes, sweetie, you don't worry about your husband. You just have fun with your tulpa. Now, here's the description of the group. Ever wonder, or the subreddit, ever wonder what it would be like to have a mental companion who can think and act on their own? That's what a tulpa is. Discuss tulpas, share your experience with having tulpas, and give advice to fellow tulpa creators here. Please read the FAQ, blah, blah, blah. Please note that we are not mental health professionals. If you are having issues with your mental health, please get professional help. Do not ask us. Okay, that's fun. All right, then we have how to create a tulpa. WikiHow, I mean, that's the go-to, right? When you're learning how to do something, you have to go to the WikiHow and find out. So you've heard about tulpas, the independent thought forms that share your brain like an imaginary friend, but have their own thoughts and feelings and ideas independent from your own. Having a tulpa may come with many benefits, although many start creating one simply because they want a companion that understands them better than anyone else. Tulpas are often associated with My Little Pony lovers, but many different tulpa exist. So step one, everybody get out your tulpa mats and we will begin. We will begin our journey into Tulpamancy. I hope everybody is on board, has your popcorn, because here we go. Okay. Think long and hard before you create a tulpa. Your tulpa will be a lifelong companion and will be with you for the rest of your life. I repeat, your tulpa will be a lifelong companion and will be with you for the rest of your life. Spend some time thinking about it, because if you change your mind after creating a tulpa, you could get rid of them, but tulpas are people with their own personality and thoughts. Getting rid of a tulpa is killing them. No, it's not. And that means you're killing a person. No, it doesn't. Making a tulpa is no easy decision. All right. Step 2, plan out your tulpa. You can start by thinking about the form or personality you want them to have. You don't have to choose a permanent form or personality for them, as it is very likely that they will deviate from what you originally planned. Yeah, I think that's part of the framework of the whole idea is letting it develop its own independence. Let me get rid of this ad. It's taking up a quarter of the screen. Plan your tulpa's appearance. You can put out your tulpa's appearance by drawing if it helps, or just visualizing them. You should not create a tulpa based on any real human, living or dead. If you create a tulpa based off a fictional character, make sure to let your tulpa know that they are not that character. They just have their appearance. Yeah, because you don't want your tulpa to think, oh, yes, I'm really Pinkie Pie from My Little Pony. All right, now we start imagining. Plan your tulpa's personality. One way to think of a personality is simply list as many personality traits you want your tulpa to have. When you've thought about a form, you can either read these traits to the tulpa or meditate on them for a while. Few minutes on each to install them into your tulpa. You're installing them like software. Installing personality. Some people tend to skip the personality step, and that's fine. Your tulpa will develop their personality themselves. This can also deviate, but no worries. It's unlikely that their personality will deviate into something harmful. It's unlikely. That's how all the horror movies start. Visualize your tulpa. Sit down and close your eyes. Imagine your tulpa in your head. Look at them from any possible angle you can think of. Try to visualize every detail of their appearance. Be patient and take time visualizing them. And remember that some parts can be difficult, such as a face. Also remember, you can do this any way you want, whatever suits you best. When you visualize, you can either just visualize your tulpa in empty space, an imaginary place, or just the space in front of you. Try to touch your tulpa in your imagination. Try to feel their hair, if they have any, because some tulpas might not have hair. Hey, don't shame tulpas about their appearance and the details of their body. When that step is complete, you will be able to feel your tulpa's form on or surface by applying a little pressure. But you won't be able to touch them as if they were a solid physical thing. Your hands will go through. Who knew your hands would go through your imaginary friend, right? Create a scent if you wish. This is getting fun. Let's make our tulpa stank. I'm going to make my tulpa smell like fresh herb. Creating a scent if you wish. If you want to, you can associate a scent with your tulpa. You can associate a scent with your tulpa during this step. Make sure the same scent remains whenever you smell your tulpa. Well, you all wanting to create smelly tulpas? Is everybody here to create a smelly tulpa with me? I think that's what my side chat is into, right? You guys are into smelly tulpas. Okay. Visualize your tulpa's movement. Imagine how your tulpa moves and walks. Think about the gestures they use. Work on their expressions last. Try to imagine a conversation with them and think about what their reaction would be. Always remember, each of these steps takes time. Never rush. Ooh, Wonderland. Here we go. If you want, you can create a place in your imagination called a Wonderland. This is a place where you can work on your tulpa and will be the place that your tulpa can live in. You can be there too. Just imagine yourself there with your tulpa. You can do anything you like there. It's your own world. it can be very helpful because if you are in a busy place, like a crowd of people, or doing something like cycling somewhere, it can be difficult to visualize your tulpa anywhere. So they can rest in the Wonderland until you are able to visualize them again. No way, my tulpa is definitely going to be able to fly. No, Petal, what are you jumping down for? Get back up here. Petal's being silly. She jumped down off the microphone. Get on there. Because usually on my old desk, the microphone was a little bit higher off the desk than this. This is actually not even on a desk. It's on a dresser right now, a chest of drawers. That's what I have to work with. All right. Let your tulpa edit the Wonderland. They can change it to anything with it whenever they want, just as you can. So, yeah, this is just like what I was talking about with the astral projection stuff. You visualize a place within your mind that separates you, and it can be a healthy tool. So I'm not going to shame them. Excuse me. I'm not going to shame them too much for that. That's good advice to learn to create something like that in your mind. Sometimes we need that place. Notice that this tulpa this person created has long hair and elf ears and appears to not be wearing any clothing. He's got a naked elf chick tulpa. Stop stealing all my ideas, dude. Talk to your tulpa. You can talk to them inside your own mind or out loud. The subject doesn't matter at all. You can talk to them about the weather, your day at work or school, your friends, a TV show you like. As long as you direct your talking to the tulpa, you'll do fine. The process is gradual, and first contact from your tulpa can be difficult to discern. They won't necessarily jump into speaking full sentences right away. This is completely optional, but you could use a method like parroting or puppeting. Though some people find this controversial. It's a thing you created in your own mind. How can it be controversial? They're going to keep making the claims that it's an independent entity from your mind. It's still you. It's still even if it's independent of your main personality and brain state, it is still you. So what you do to it, you can do anything to it that you would willingly do to yourself, including puppet yourself, because I puppet myself out of bed every morning because I'm not a morning person. I have to. Bree wants to stay and snuggled under the covers, but I have to. The rational part of my brain has to puppet her out of bed and dress her and get her makeup on so she can get to work on time. That's just the way the world turns. Sometimes, if you are not sure if the answer you got was you parroting or your tulpa, always assume it was your tulpa. Always assume. That's sound advice, right? Always assume. I would say no matter what the situation, assuming is probably not a good idea. You can infer, maybe. I say that as someone who assumes on a daily basis. I yawn. Sorry. I make assumptions all the time. I don't recommend it. You can't stop yourself from doing it, but it's something you should try to mitigate with rational and reasoning. This step can take a while. Be patient. Now, this dude's tulpa is no longer a naked elf chick because it looks like it's the same dude, right? He's an elf too. Is that the same guy? He's in a different t-shirt though, and has different hair. It is a different guy. His is like a furry thing with a backwards hat and hoodie. Kind of looks like a furry, like a Fred Durst. It was a furry fox or something. After your tulpa talks, you can choose a voice for them if they haven't created one themselves. So how is it after the tulpa talks? How is it talking if it doesn't have a voice yet? You can create a completely new voice in your head, but it may be easier to pick a voice you know well enough to imagine it saying anything. Check sentience. Now, here's where things get weird. Are you ready? Determine whether your tulpa is sentient. Close your eyes and tell your tulpa you're opening your mind to them. Imagine them walking through a door that leads into your subconscious. Your tulpa can now see your memories, how you feel, and everything about you as a person. Don't do this right away, but wait until there's trust between you so that your tulpa won't take this for granted. Signs of sentience. Tulpa talks back to you with full sentences and has its own opinions. They may communicate with you in other ways as well, such as through emotions. Tulpa does things you didn't expect them to do. So you're talking about making sure you build trust with it, but this is the next step right after you just learn to communicate with you, right? So I'm assuming I can't stop yawning. I'm assuming that this step is that between step 2 here, or between this step here and this step here, that there's supposed to be a long wait, I guess. Moving your tulpa into reality. Go for a walk and imagine your tulpa. You are so wild today. She wants to get back. I'm going to let her go. She wants to go back up into the window. She's been hanging out in this window. She loves it. She likes looking outside and the sunshine and all that. So I'm going to let her go. We'll continue the show without you, Petal. Go have fun. We're good. You are showing up for Dr. Ben's show later, though. So don't go too far. Okay? Because I'll need you. You're talking to a laryngeal nerve. Yes, I know you don't have a laryngeal nerve. Yeah, and you can't talk. I get it. I just like you on your emotional support. You're why I don't need a tulpa, Petal. So, but tulpas, unlike mantises, don't go wandering off in the middle of their creator's show. But you go and hang out in the window and watch the flowers and the bees. Just leave me here to do the show by myself. All right. Where were we? In time, you will learn to feel your tulpa's presence. Even though you can't really see them, you can still feel where they are and what they are doing, and see them with your mind's eye. So now we're getting into some like woo concepts there. Your mind's eye, it's just where you visualize things in your brain. It's not mind's eye is like a new age term for it. Just where you form images in your brain. All right, connecting with others who have tulpas. So I'm not going to read that one because that's it. That's the step. That's all you need to do. It's all about imagining. It's basically just imagine all these things in this order is what this instruction manual comes down to. So that's wiki. That's wiki how to create a tulpa. All right. So we've what is coming up here? Nope, not yet. Okay, so now that is wrapping up our cryptic corner for today. We looked at tulpas. We discussed what a tulpa is and how they are made. We've discussed differences between a tulpa as an actual spiritual entity and a thought form created purely as a psychological effect. We went and looked at a guide on how to create our own tulpas and went through all those steps, which I was not impressed with. But if you, whether watching this Friday on Cryptic Corner, watching this live right now and live from the Hive, or watching a re-recording of a restream of this at some later date, you decide that you want to create a tulpa, let us know in the comments how it goes and what the steps that you took were and if they worked. Let us know about your experience. If you think that my snark about creating tulpas was wrong, if something I said you have an answer to, please leave your comments below. I am very interested in this topic and the reality of it. My tulpa is topless, says Doc Fearsome. So eyes up here. Hey, I said eyes up here. My 4-foot tall apple pie scented Godzilla tulpa is almost good to go. D, that is awesome. Keep us up to date on the status on your mini kaiju tulpa. This is a weird article. We were always advised against creating entities, something evil if not properly controlled. That when I was into new age stuff, that was kind of the message I always got from my new age crowd too, was that, oh yeah, you don't want to create a thought form. It can be, or create an entity with your own as a thought form. It can turn evil, or it's actually a demon, or things like that. It's what you're doing is summoning a demon and giving it just a form, and it's going to pretend for you, things like that. So it's peculiar that this article is like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do this thing. That confirmation bias and maladapted daydreaming, such a wonderful process. Yeah, there are probably some healthy aspects to this exercise, at least to the things like visualizing the place and visualizing ways to visualize accessing information from your brain and coming up with ways to do that. It's probably a healthy steps to take. So I'm in agreement there. But to apply some of this attributes that you're putting on here are a little more than I'm willing to suspend my disbelief for. Anyway, that was Cryptic Corner. Thank you for coming. Please remember to be kind and take care, and we'll see you next time.